This season dedicated to the memory of Joseph and Bernard Gantz, brother and grandfather, forever with us on the hunt. Have you ever dreamt of doing something that would call for you to step outside your comfort zone? Do you have the courage inside to accept that challenge? As an outdoorsman, every time we embark on a new adventure, our character, our will, our determination, and our drive are challenged. Follow as we attempt to define ourselves as hunters, outdoorsmen, and friends on this epic adventure. The harvest, that's the bonus. If it were always that easy, there would be no challenge, there would be no drive, there would be no will to get up and do it again. We are wild about hunting. Are you? This segment brought to you by DeJesus Family Chiropractic, improving lives with chiropractic. Day 4, Ohio. It's been a tough hunt to this point. We haven't really seen a lot of deer in the stands or blinds. It's been challenging trying to learn the area, but we figured out, we believe, at Pleasant Valley Wildlife Management Area, some setups that are going to hopefully produce, at least start seeing some deer, because the sign is definitely there. So we're going to definitely want to have to put a little bit more time in and devote the rest of the hunt to this piece of property. Well, it's Monday morning, day 4, and found some good sign last night. Saw our first deer last night, but we needed to get our gear washed, so we're at the laundromat here in Chillicothe, and we're getting our gear washed this morning. Then we're going to head back, put the tree stands in the truck, head out to Pleasant Valley Management Area, and get them hung up. Found a really nice ridge, lots of sign. Just met some great people from Vermont, gave us some good pointers and tips. They've been down here for 6 years, so we're going to keep that in mind, because we may be going back to Ross Lake at some point here, but I got to get the monitor going here. All right, well, the weather definitely hasn't been cooperating. It's been getting very, very hot. The temperatures have been in the mid-80s. Definitely not deer hunting weather that we're used to, by no means, and it's definitely shut down the deer activity during the daylight hours. They're moving after dark, but not during the daylight that much. So we opted for day 4 to sleep in a little bit and head to the laundromat, because it was really foggy when we woke up. We had a little bit of light rain, so we went to the laundromat to wash our clothes, get it all scent free again, and then figure out the afternoon. We're waiting on the dryers now. Clothes are washed, everything's in the dryer. We're just gonna get everything dried up. Hopefully 14 minutes will be enough. We can get it all folded, put back in our bags, and head back to the hotel. Grab a quick bite, get another cup of coffee, and then gonna head out, get some tree stands hung, and sit till dark. So it's gonna be hot. Not looking forward to the weather this week, but we got to hunt regardless, so gotta try and put a deer down here in a while. All right, that afternoon we headed out to Pleasant Valley Management Area, and we got up onto this ridge and got our muddy tree stands and all hung up, got them situated, sat for the last probably hour and a half, 2 hours of that night, but didn't see any deer movement. But we were coming back in there the next morning and hoping that we were going to have a little bit of activity.
We got back in here on this ridge that we found yesterday when we were scouting midday. Over my shoulder, probably about 80 yards, is the little pond. That's their only water source right here. This hill leads downhill. Now above this is where that cut cornfield is that we were sitting on the edge of last night, where we had that one single doe come in and start blowing and mess us all up. But all along the bottom, to my right, down to my left, it's cut soybean, and there's scrapes all along it. We actually found on the edge of the cut soybean, before we came into the woods, another fresh scrape, which was pretty big, probably about 3 feet around, and then a fresh rub that was just done today. You could see the green bark and everything just shaving off just as you're coming into the woods. Well, slowly coming to a close. And again, no deer. Slightly starting to get frustrated right now. Just sitting in the stand for hours and hours. And you're not even seeing deer. It's not a matter of getting the shot, it's just you're not even seeing deer. And we're finding the sign now. I don't know. We got a water hole down there. We got cut soybean all around. Lots of scrapes. There's rubs all through here. I know there's standing corn up there. Not for sure we'd see some deer this evening coming down through this ridge. But plenty of squirrels. If anybody needs a hot spot for squirrels, just call up Baba Hunt. We'll tell you where they're at. But just do it yourself, and we gotta figure that out. We have 5 days to go. We're coming right back here in the morning. We're just not giving up. We might be a little beaten down right now, but we're definitely not giving up.
This segment brought to you by Deer Track Design. From custom decals to state-of-the-art printing, no order's too small. If you can dream it, we can print it. All right, so day 5, we wake up, we're ready to go. We're bright and early. We had our cup of coffee with us, got a couple snacks, some sandwiches. We were planning on sitting all day. It was a little bit cooler in the morning, but still the temperatures were gonna be hitting those mid-80s by midday afternoon, but we were optimistic with where we were set up that we were gonna have a chance to see some deer, and boy, did we have an exciting morning.
Just got a big buck. Thought I heard something walking. I looked over, I got a big buck. He went down into the gully about 100 yards up. Across the gully. Kind of walked off away from us. I grunted at him. I don't know if he was following the doe or not. He's good. Not real wide, but tall. Nice buck. Dang it.
Daylight was breaking. It was probably maybe a half hour after daylight. We didn't have the best camera light left, or just yet. And I happened to hear something up above us on the ridge coming down, and I looked up and there's a big buck walking down. And unfortunately, because it was still breaking daylight, Andrew didn't have enough light on the camera to get it on film, but that was definitely a shooter buck. I don't know how many points he had, definitely 8 points, might have had more, big white polished rack. And he kind of crossed down into a ravine that was about 100 yards up the hill from us and then just walked off. Didn't respond. I grunted at the deer, didn't respond at all. He stopped the one time and then just kept going, walked away from us, and we never saw him again after that. But we saw a deer. We knew we were in the area. There were lots of scrapes, lots of rubs, water source down below us. We knew we were getting close at this point. All right, so we sat till almost about lunchtime, and we decided to get down out of the stands, head back to the truck, have a little bite, cool off. Wanted to shoot the bow a little bit since it was traveling around in and out of the case. Figured better make sure that it's dialed in. So we pulled out the block target, took a few shots. One of the DEC workers who maintains that management area stopped by. We spoke with him for a little bit, and he gave us a little bit of input and insight as to the wildlife management area, which kind of helped us out some. And then we were going to go back out and try and set the ground blind up somewhere near this water source that we found. There was a small pond with a lot of scrapes around it. We wanted to set up somewhere near that, but we weren't sure exactly where.
It's about midday. We sat in that tree stand set this morning until about 10 o'clock. We climbed down nice and quiet, gathered up our our things and we snuck out, headed back to the room. It's only 10 minutes from here. Grabbed the ground blind, some chairs, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna set up on the water hole, which is right in that point, right over there. It seems like that's the only water that we found on this whole end, and the scrapes go all the way around this hole. Actually, they go up here. There's about 3 scrapes that go up here around. They cut into the trail that we're gonna go into, scrape down by the pond there, and then they follow the other soybean field all the way down. So this is definitely where this buck is running, and hopefully we'll see some does or something come out to the water. Maybe we can get a shot at something this evening. We'll be back in the tree stand tomorrow morning, but it's hot. We want to get this back in there and get it brushed in pretty soon, so we'll go along. This was a rub he just made yesterday in between from when we were here the day before. I mean, you can see it's still got the green bark showing. There's fresh shavings all over the place. So this buck is just making big loops and hitting these scrapes. He hasn't hit these yet. There's a big one just inside the woods line. I'm gonna see if he hit this one that's down by the pond here.
This segment brought to you by Night Star Munitions, family owned and operated, located at 318 Yorktown Drive, Hazleton, Pennsylvania. Well, by the time we headed back out for the afternoon, it was scorching hot. I mean, we were walking out in short sleeves or very little as far as shirts and clothing on top. We were packing everything in. We had the blind, we had chairs. We got down to where this pond was, which is where we wanted to be, but there was really no good spot to set that blind up. So we opted to get back out on the other side, probably directly south of where we were set up on the ridge, and overlook the cut soybean that had winter wheat growing in it. And we tucked the blind back in there and hoping that the deer were going to come out of the thick cover 200 yards across from us and just sit for the rest of the evening.
All right, well, got the blind all kind of back, brushed in here. We just used a natural cover to kind of hide it. Right out in front of us, we've got a big scrape. It's probably not the smartest setup, but it's the only place we can put the blind and have a chance. We may not even see a deer tonight. That's kind of typically how it's going. And with temperatures close to 70 degrees, these deer are pretty much staying nocturnal and very early morning, as we found out in the tree stand.
We got settled. We were sitting for that afternoon. It was hot. We were trying to cool off. We sprayed down really well with our Bucks and Beards odor eliminator, and we probably were sitting maybe about an hour, and lo and behold, a deer popped out, and it was a buck. Looked like a small 6-point, but it was a buck, pretty good sized body, and he was coming across the cut soybean right at us.
that tall grass across the field, kind of like what we expected was going to happen. It wasn't a giant, but we would have shot him. But he came up this way, and I couldn't get a clean shot on him, even get a chance to draw it. I couldn't even get a range on him. Good looking deer though, real nice deer.
Never gave me a shot, but nonetheless, day 5 in the books, 2 buck, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. We were feeling pretty optimistic going into day 6. Day 6 did not prove to be a very productive day. We sat till about mid-morning without a deer sighting. The decision was made to regroup and set up in a cut cornfield where a farmer reported seeing a nice buck in the field he was cutting corn. We got the ground blind all settled in the area the buck had been seen. Yet again, we never had an encounter with any deer. Temps being as warm as they were, day 7 ended up with no deer sightings as well. Now let's head back home to PA, where team member Kevin Tarapchak takes a giant PA buck. Stick with us, you don't want to miss this hunt. This segment brought to you by Paul's Auto Center, providing emergency roadside assistance and towing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, serving the Hazleton area for over 30 years.
All right, so archery season wasn't very kind to me. I didn't have the deer moving around like I normally do. Tried a bunch of stands. My normal stand down on a farm field that the farmer lets me hunt. We usually have good activity there, did not. Went down into just outside the honey hole along the Nescapec Creek. Didn't have a lot of activity there during archery season. We knew the deer were there, so the first 2 days of rifle season came around and we decided to go there and sit in the blind. Unfortunately, Mother Nature didn't cooperate and it poured rain the first 2 days and we didn't have any activity. So the first Saturday of deer season came along for rifle and I decided to go back to a spot that over the years has been very, very good to me.
Going back to my roots though here, I always used to hunt just up against the tree. I've always had great success getting a deer during rifle season, just sitting up against the tree, so that's what we're doing. No blind, no stand, just sitting on the ground up against the tree, seeing if we can't get us a deer.
I've seen a lot of deer up there, killed many deer up there, buck, doe. So I decided that I was gonna take a chance. I hadn't scouted that area all year and just go in and do a little bit of old school hunting like I was taught, which was just sit up against a tree and wait for something to happen. Very heavy timber. So we decided that morning that that's where I was gonna go. So I took all my gear and walked in about 1.5 miles into the woods and got to the spot where I wanted to set up. Got my gear set up, got the buck cage set out, and just waited for the deer.
Only a couple shots heard. I haven't seen any movement though. But it's going for 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so I'm hoping maybe they'll be getting up and start moving around a little bit.
As the day went on, started to use the grunt call a little bit to see if we couldn't attract anything, maybe pull some deer in. So it got to be later in the afternoon. Hadn't seen anything, no movement as of yet. No other hunters out there either. Usually there's a lot of hunters out there moving deer around. So I went back to the grunt call, and after about 10 to 15 minutes of grunting sporadically, I heard something. I heard a lot of rustling to my left, probably about 35, 40 yards away in the laurels. And that's when I really started hearing the laurel starts shaking around. And normally, the deer, when they come in this area, they come right out in front of me and give me a nice clear open shot. So that's where I was looking. Well, this deer had other ideas. As I was looking for him to come out in front of me, just out of the corner of my eye, I saw the laurels move again. So I quick turned the camera around, got my gun up, and waited for the open shot. Bam! Put a good shot on him, and instantly I knew I hit him. I'm shaking. I'm excited. I know I put a good hit on this deer. So I took a walk over to where he was when I shot him, and there was just blood everywhere. And it only took us about 5 minutes of tracking this deer, and we came up on him, and he was right in the swamp, right where I thought he would be. 1, 2, 3, 4 for sure, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 points, maybe 12. What a deer.
All right, well, Kevin, man, what a hunt and what a deer. And you said it right. When you got to our house and David and I were waiting for you and your dad to show up, we saw antlers sticking up out of your truck before we even saw the deer. We knew that was a giant, and it was. And we had a blast. We got that deer out. We took lots of pictures, celebrated with Kevin and his dad. My parents came out to see it. What an awesome buck. Congratulations, buddy. We're proud of you. Did us proud here at Wild Bout Hunting. Put a big buck down on the ground. And what a way to close out this episode with an awesome hunt. Hey, stick with us because the season finale, we're getting ready to close it out in Ohio. You're going to want to see what happens and if I can get it done, and a recap of everything from season 1 of Wild Bout Hunting. Wild Bout Hunting is also proud to partner with these fine sponsors.